You stand on a wooden floor that never truly rests. It hums under your boots, and the looms answer with their hard, steady clack. Cotton dust sits on your tongue. Warm oil hangs in the air. Outside, the sun can fade without anyone here looking up. Inside, the clock rules. The clock is the new master of your day, and it does not soften for tired legs or sore hands. Then something shifts. Not yet, just a tiny easing, like the mill takes one long breath. You glance at the clock, and your shoulders tighten. In a few moments, the steam will stop, and the noise will drop away. So you step on, deeper into the shed. Before we settle in, if you enjoy these relaxing journeys into the past, like the video and subscribe for more quiet history evenings. If there's a part of today you want to let go, or a memory tonight brings back, share it below. Now let's get comfortable and ease into tonight's journey. The first thing you notice is how the boards never go still. Each step lands on a floor that feels alive, like it has a pulse of its own. The shake runs up through your soles, up your legs, and into your hips. It is not a sudden jolt. It is steady. It is always there, like a drum you cannot turn off, even when you try to think about something else. You take your place beside your looms, and your body settles into the lane between moving parts. Your mind wants to catch up, to check every sound and every shift, but your body gets there first. Your shoulders square, your elbows stay close, your feet find the safe spots on the worn boards. The machines pull your attention in the same way a strong wind pulls at a door. You do not fight it for long. You let it take you because you have to. The beat comes fast. These are power looms, and their clack and slap do not float in the air like music. They press, they push on your chest, they tap at your ribs. Somewhere in the frame, the shuttle shoots through like a small missile, too quick to track with your eyes, quick enough to hurt if anything goes wrong. You feel the loom shudder through another line. Your ears do not just hear, they hold the sound, like hands holding a heavy pail. The air stays thick, and the heat sits on you. Near 30 degrees, even when the day outside feels kinder. The windows stay closed to keep the thread from snapping, so the warmth has nowhere to go. It does not move. It hangs, mixed with oil and breath, and you feel it on your skin the moment you stop moving. Dry cotton dust rides the air and finds your mouth. You taste it when you breathe. It coats your tongue. It makes your throat feel rough, like you swallowed a small pinch of flour. Lint sticks to sweat at your temples and along your wrists. The warm smell of oil clings to everything. It sits in your hair. It marks your cuffs. It stays in the seams of your clothes. So even when you step outside later, you will still carry this place with you. Your hands move before you tell them to. You reach toward the shuttle, then pull back, then reach again, all in a narrow space where danger lives. You glance at the cloth edge as it forms, and you watch for a curl, a snag, a wobble in the weave. You stay close enough to act fast, but not so close that a sleeve can catch. The looms do not care if you feel tired. They do not pause to give you room. A small mistake steals time. A loose thread. A cloth edge that drifts. A bit of fluff caught where it should not be. Each little problem feels like a hand tugging at your day, pulling it tighter. Time does not feel like yours in here. It feels like something kept on a hook, something you borrow and must return. The clock on the wall holds the hours like a stern eye. It does not blink. It does not soften. You glance up at it when you can, but you do not stare. Looking too long makes the minutes feel slower. You learn to take quick looks, like stealing a sip of water. Then your eyes return to the cloth, because the cloth tells you more than the clock does. The cloth shows what you did a moment ago and what you must do next. It gives you small proof that you're still keeping up. Around you, other workers stand in their own narrow places. Their faces look pale in the harsh light, with lint stuck to damp skin. Their hair lies flat with sweat. You do not hear full sentences often. Talking gets swallowed by the clatter. Instead, you notice the small signals that pass between you. A nod toward a loose belt. A quick finger point at a corner where threads are tangling. A glance that says, "Are you all right?" and then moves on. Because there is no room for long talks. Sometimes you catch a tiny smile just for a breath. It is not big, it does not last, but it quietly warms you because it means someone else feels this day the same way you do. A shared look can do what words cannot do here. It can remind you that you are not alone in the noise. You focus on your own lane of work. The loom's motion becomes a kind of language. You learn its steady parts and its rough parts. You learn how it sounds when it runs clean and how it sounds when something starts to go wrong. The smallest change matters. A harsh scrape, a quick stutter, a beat that lands too hard. Your mind keeps watch without seeming to try. Still the sound keeps pressing, even when your hands move well, even when the cloth rolls on without trouble. The noise never lets you fully rest. It fills every corner of your head. You try to think of other things, and the clack slides over them, as if it wants to erase them. You try to remember a face from home, a street you walked in the morning, a quiet room, and the memory comes thin, like a picture seen through steam. Your feet ache in a slow, deep way. Standing is not one pain, it is many small pains that join together. Your heels burn, your toes feel squeezed, your knees lock and unlock without you noticing. You shift your weight when you can, little changes that keep you going. If you stop moving for even a moment, your body tries to sink, like it wants to sit right down on the shaking floor. So you keep moving, you keep checking, you keep reaching and pulling back. You watch the cloth edge, you watch the threads. You keep your hands quick but careful. Your eyes blink more than they used to because dust stings them. The air feels warm and used, having already been breathed too many times. And somewhere in all of this, a small question starts to grow. You wonder how your ears will feel when this finally stops. You try to remember real quiet, and it is hard. You know you have heard quiet before. You know the world holds it. But after hours of this, you cannot find it easily in your mind. You hold the thought like a small coin in your pocket. We stay with you in that wanting. Not a loud wanting, not a wild wish. Just a steady pull toward the end of the shift. Toward a moment when the noise will no longer press on your ribs. The thought does not make the day shorter, but it gives it a shape. It gives you a point to lean toward, even while you stand in place. To cope, you let the rhythm guide you. You no longer try to fight the beat. You step into it, the way you count your steps in the dark. So you do not trip. You let the loom tell you when to reach, when to check, when to pull away. Your hands ride the pattern, and that pattern holds you up. It keeps your mind from spinning off into worry. You also lean in small ways on the people near you, not with big talks, just with the quiet care that slips through even the loudest places. Someone points to a thread you did not see. Someone shifts aside so you can move past. You do the same for them. A shared nod. The kind of help that costs nothing but attention. The day keeps pushing forward. The machines do not slow for your tired legs, and the floor does not stop shaking under you. The clock keeps pulling you, 1 minute at a time. And you keep listening, because in the middle of all this steady thunder, even the smallest change in the loom's rough music can mean you have to move, right now. Threads, fingers, and the overlooker's eye. This is the part of the day where tiny things decide how the next hour will feel. You catch it as a change, not a sharp snap. The cloth edge flutters. The pattern looks wrong for one breath. That is all the warning you get. You move fast. Your hand goes to the stop, and the machine slows with a stubborn shudder. The floor still trembles under you, but the loom in front of you settles down. Your fingers reach into the space where the thread has failed. Careful and sure, you find the loose ends by feel as much as sight, because lint hangs in the air and the light stays hard and bright. Your hands must be quick, but not clumsy. If you fumble, you lose more than thread. You lose minutes, and minutes pull the whole day tight. You hold the broken ends close to the cloth, keeping them from slipping away. The thread feels thin and a little rough, dry from the air and the work. It tries to curl back on itself. You pinch it, steady. You feel the overlooker before you see him. The aisle behind you has its own rhythm, made of boots and pauses. He walks like someone who counts without moving his lips. You do not need to turn your head to know he is near. The skin between your shoulders tightens anyway. You keep your eyes on your work because looking up can waste a second, and a second matters when someone is watching. And it is not only targets he watches for. He watches for small faults that can cost you. Talking when you should be working. Hands that look too dirty. A smear of oil. A cuff gone pale with lint. A fine can come down for things like that. A small punishment taken straight from your copper coins at the end of the week. Cotton lint sticks to the sweat on your wrists. It gathers where your sleeves end, making pale cuffs that were not there in the morning. You know he can see it. You know he might even stop and look closer, as if a bit of dust on skin tells him how serious you are. When you bend close, the air feels thick, as if the room holds its breath with you. Each inhale tastes faintly of cloth before it becomes cloth. Your mouth stays dry, and you swallow without help. You keep your wrists low and close, not hiding them, just not offering them up. You do not wipe at the lint too much either. That can look like you have been careless. So you let it sit while you work, and you trust that the speed of your hands will speak for you. You bring the two ends together. You twist them gently, then tie a small knot that you can trust. Not too big, not too loose. You smooth the join with your thumb, making sure it will run clean. The motion feels familiar, like tying a shoe in the dark. You do it the same way each time because it works. The overlooker's shadow slides across the floorboards beside you. It stretches, then shortens as he passes. You feel him slow, just a little. Close enough that you can picture his eyes dropping to your fingers, then to your wrists, checking the lint, checking the oil, checking for any excuse to mark you down. You do not hear any words from him. You do not need them. The quiet from him feels like a hand on the back of your neck. It tells you to hurry, but also to do it right. If the thread catches again, that will look worse than a careless moment now. You set the thread in place, guide it through, and check the line one last time. Your fingers move with small neat touches. Then you start the loom again. The first pull feels tense, like a cart starting on a hill. The thread catches, it holds, the pattern returns, and the cloth begins to run as it should, steady and sure. We stay close to the small fear that comes with this. It is not loud fear. It is the kind that sits under your ribs and does not leave. Falling behind can turn the rest of the shift into a slow climb. And a fine, even a small one, can make a long week feel sharper. You count your pay before you even have it. You picture the coins in your palm, then picture one or two missing because someone decided your hands looked wrong. The clock does not care about the light outside. In fields, people once watched the sky, watched the sun tilt, watched shadows change. Here the hands of the clock rule everything. It tells you when to start, when to stop, and when to eat. Even when the day darkens early, work goes on. Even when the sun lingers, the bell still calls. We feel that in the way you keep glancing up, not to see the sky, but to see those strict hands moving. Some men in charge want every hour they can get. You hear it in the way the day stretches. You hear it in the talk that slips along the aisles, half swallowed by the looms. People say the week can run to more than 60 hours for adults in some places, even now, even with new rules on paper. In your bones, that number makes sense because your legs already know what a long time feels like. You shift your weight as the loom runs again. Your heels complain. Your calves stay tight. Your shoulders sit high without asking. Standing all day does not feel like one long thing. It feels like many small moments of holding yourself up again and again until the body stops arguing and simply endures. A worker 2 frames down catches your eye. It is only for a second. Their face shines with sweat and lint. Their mouth tightens, then softens. The look they give you says, "Keep going." It says, "Good catch." It says, "You did not let it beat you." You give the smallest nod back. No more than that. Even that kind of small talk can be noticed, and you have no wish to pay for it. The loom keeps its hard beat. Your hands return to their places. You watch the cloth edge. You keep your fingers ready for the next tiny fix, the next knot, the next careful reach into the moving space. The machine becomes a kind of weather. Some days it runs smoothly. Some days it throws a little trouble at you. You do not get to choose, but you do get to respond. As the hours press on, you start to crave a sound that is not made by gears and belts. You want a sound with breath in it, a voice you can understand without reading lips, a kettle beginning to sing, a door closing softly, even a bird outside if any dared near these walls. That wanting sits in you, quiet but steady, like thirst, so you find a way to carry the day in smaller pieces. You do not try to hold all the hours at once. That would crush you. You break it into tiny wins. One clean join. One steady run without a break. One stretch of time where the cloth rolls on, and you do not have to stop. You count these without counting, as if your body keeps a small list for you. The overlooker passes again later, and you feel him in the air like a draft. He checks, he watches, he moves on. He has his own pressure too. He answers to someone above him, and the whole place answers to the clock. The clock hangs there like a pale face watching everyone equally. Outside, the day keeps changing without you. The light shifts, turning more slanted, more tired. You cannot see it well through the high windows, but you sense it in the way the air turns heavier on your skin. Sweat gathers under your collar. Lint clings to damp places that never seem to dry. The hour hand creeps forward, and the walls hold on to the warmth as if they mean to keep it. The heat, trapped in brick, starts to feel like another machine in the room, working on you without moving. By afternoon, the brick walls feel like they have been holding the day in their thick red sides. They do not let it go all at once. They feed it back to you slowly, like a stove that stays warm long after the fire has turned low. Even when you stand still for a second, you feel it on your face, on the back of your neck, on your forearms, where your sleeves have slipped. You keep working while sweat gathers under your collar. It starts as a thin, damp line, then spreads until the cloth sticks to you. When you turn your head, the collar pulls at your skin. The cotton dust finds every wet place. It clings to your wrists and the bend of your elbow. It settles along your hairline. It turns your skin pale in streaks, like you have been brushed with flour. The loom keeps its pace and you keep yours, even as your body asks for cooler air. The air feels used up. You breathe, but the breath does not feel fresh. It feels borrowed. Each inhale tastes like cloth before it becomes cloth, like raw fibre and dry lint. You feel it on your tongue. You feel it in the back of your throat. And deeper than that, the fine cotton seems to settle where you cannot cough it out. A dull, heavy feeling that sits in the chest and makes the next breath feel smaller. People call it brown lung in a plain way, because the dust has a way of staying with you, and there is nothing on your face to stop it. Some days the air feels damp too. The mill keeps it that way to help the threads behave, so they do not snap as much. The wetness hangs close and it makes your sleeves heavy. Your shirt feels thicker than it did in the morning, as if it has soaked up the room. When you lift your arm, the cloth drags. The damp also slows the dust from rising, but it does not make it disappear. It just turns it into a soft film that sits on your skin. You wipe your brow with the back of your hand. The motion is quick, almost hidden, because you do not want to look like you're slowing down. Your hand comes away with a pale streak of lint across the knuckles. It surprises you for a moment how much of the day can gather on one small swipe. You rub your hand on your apron, and the lint stays there, a light mark on darker cloth. Under it all you can feel the engine through the floor and through the air. It is not just noise, it is a steady thrum, the Bolton and Watt engine turning and turning, its rotary motion kept smooth by iron and habit. The belts keep their pull, the shafts keep their spin, and the whole place seems tied to that deep pulse. Even when your own machine stutters, the thrum underfoot tells you the power still runs, waiting for your hands to catch up. The light inside stays hard and steady, but you sense the afternoon outside. The sun shifts, even if you cannot see it well. The high windows do not give you a clear view, only a change in tone, a thin brightening or a dulling. In another kind of life, that change might tell you when to rest, when to eat, when to begin to head home. Here, the sun can shine or hide, and it does not matter much. The bell and the clock rule either way. Your legs ache from standing. The ache feels deep, like it has found the bone. It does not stab. It spreads. It makes your knees feel thick. Your calves stay tight, as if they are always bracing for a step that never comes. When you shift your weight from one foot to the other, it helps for a few breaths. Then the ache returns, steady and patient. Your feet feel wide inside your boots, as if they have grown during the day and no longer fit. Your shoulders feel set in one position, like hinges that need oil. They want to move, but the work asks them to hold. Your arms lift and lower, and the joints grow dull. Your neck stays stiff from looking down and then up again, always checking, always watching. When you roll your shoulder a little, it crackles softly, a sound you barely hear over the machines, but still feeling the tightness easing for a moment. Even the small breaks in motion feel strange now. If the loom runs smoothly for a stretch, you almost do not know what to do with that ease. Your hands hover, ready. Your eyes keep scanning for trouble. You do not trust silence inside the noise. You trust steady motion, because steady motion means you're not losing time. You taste the air again, and you think of water. You think of the first sip you will take later, not rushed, not snatched between beats. The thought feels cool, even if it is only a thought. You also think of the evening, of the first step outside when the air will touch your face. That is still ahead. It sits in the future like a dim lamp you can see from far down a lane. We keep an eye on the clock even when we try not to. It hangs there, its clear face watching over the rows. It does not change its look as the day drags. It does not show kindness. It simply moves steady and strict. You notice how the hands do not speed up when you're tired, and they do not slow down when a thread breaks. They keep their own path, like a train that will not stop for someone running beside it. A part of you still remembers a different kind of time. Maybe it was your parents' time, or a time in your own younger years when work shifted with the weather and daylight. A late sunrise meant a late start. A storm meant a pause. Here the mill does not pause for rain, and it does not open its windows for a breeze. Not when damp air helps the threads and closed walls keep the work steady. The clock has taken the place of the sky. It tells you what hour it is, even when your body already knows it by pain and weariness. You hold on to the thought of the ending, not the end of everything, just the end of this stretch. You picture the moment the engine eases and the belts lose their bite. You picture the clatter thinning, one loom at a time, until the room feels wider. You do not let yourself lean into that picture too much, because wanting can make the minutes feel longer. But you keep it near, like a small stone in your pocket, something solid you can touch with your mind. As the afternoon deepens, the noise starts to feel sharper, not because it has grown, but because your body has carried it for so long. The beat of the loom seems to land harder in your ribs. Your ears feel full, and your head feels tight behind the eyes. You blink more often. You swallow. You keep your hands moving, because if you stop, you will notice every ache at once. Still, you learn to live inside the clock's steady forecast. You treat it like weather. Some hours feel like hot wind that never cools. Some feel like damp fog that clings to your sleeves. You do not fight the weather. You dress for it. You move through it. You do the same here with time. You meet the hour in front of you, then the next, and you let the day pass over you. Near the latter part of the shift, you feel a change in the room. Not in the looms, not yet, but in people. A worker lifts their chin a little, as if catching a hint of outside air through brick. Someone shifts their stance more often. The overlooker's steps pause longer at the corner, then start again. You keep working, but your mind keeps reaching toward the door, toward the street, toward cooler air and softer sounds. And while the heat stays close, another weight grows more noticeable than warmth. The sound has been with you for so long that it starts to sit on your ears, close and heavy, as if it has a shape of its own. Mill deafness settles in, not like a switch, but like a slow closing of a door you did not mean to touch. After so many hours, your hearing blurs at the edges. The loom beat still hits the air, but your mind takes it in a softer way now, as if the day has rounded off the sharp parts. Even your own thoughts feel quieter, like they speak from farther back in your head. A loud bang comes from somewhere down the row. Earlier, you would have jumped. Your shoulders would have lifted on their own. Now you barely flinch. Your body chooses stillness, as if it has learned that surprise costs too much. You keep your hands steady, and let the moment pass. It feels like a small saving, like keeping a coin in your pocket instead of spending it. That dulling helps you work. It also feels strange. You notice it the way you notice numb fingers in winter. At first it seems like a gift, then it makes you uneasy. You wonder, in a small and private way, what this does to you over months and years. You wonder if the world will always sound far off, even on a quiet street. You do not say it out loud. The looms would swallow the words, and besides, there is no time for worries you cannot fix before the bell. Someone steps close to your shoulder and says something. You catch only pieces. The voice feels like it comes through thick cloth. You turn your head just enough to see their mouth. Their lips shape the message. Their brow lifts toward a frame that is starting to misbehave. You nod once to show you understand. We learn to do this together. Watching mouths, catching meaning from a blink, a quick lift of the eyebrows, a hand that pauses in mid-air to point. In here, hearing becomes only one tool, and it is not always the best one. Your head feels full. Not full of thoughts, but full of noise. It is as if the day has packed it in behind your eyes. You feel pressure in your temples. Your jaw stays set without meaning to. When you swallow, you notice the tightness in your throat, the same tightness you get when you hold back a cough. The air still tastes of fibre, and it dries you out as you work. The smell sits with it too. Warm mineral oil, not just from your own loom, but from the whole room. Shafts, belts, bearings, the places that must stay slick to keep turning. It hangs in your hair and settles into your cuffs. When you lift your hand, you catch it again, like it has been rubbed into your skin. You know it will follow you out later, even after you wipe your palms on your apron. People talk about what that oil can do over the years, the way it can leave its mark on bodies that never really get a clean break from it. The thought comes and goes because you still have work on your hands. We sit with the odd comfort that comes with routine. The loom's beat stays harsh, but it stays steady. It does not surprise you now. It marks time in a rough, simple way. In a place where the clock owns the hours, the beat becomes a second kind of clock, one you feel in your ribs and knees. Steady things can carry you when you feel thin and worn. You do not love the sound. You lean on it. You keep moving because stopping would let everything else speak louder. If you pause even for a minute, the pain in your feet will rise up and take your full attention. Your heels already burn. Your toes feel pinched and tender. Your calves hold tight as rope. You know this ache. It waits for you like a dog that does not leave the yard. As long as you keep working, you can keep it at the edge. So your hands do what they have done all day. They check the cloth edge. They watch the threads run. They hover near the parts that can bite. The motions feel almost simple now, like stirring a pot or folding a sheet. Your body remembers the order of things and follows it. The overlooker walks again, and you sense his path without turning. You keep your eyes forward. You keep the pace. You let the beat carry you through another short stretch of time. Now and then, you catch a small kindness in the middle of the work. A worker across the aisle lifts a chin in a quick question. Are you steady? Are you keeping up? You answer with a brief nod. Another worker leans in just enough for you to see their mouth shape a warning you cannot quite hear. Then they blink hard and point to a thread drifting on your frame. It is a tiny signal, given without fuss. You fix it and give a quick look back, a silent thank you. This is how people talk here, in pieces, in faces and hands. Your ears feel different, and the world shrinks around that change. The loud room feels less wide than it did in the morning. You notice less of what happens far away. The edges blur. You pay attention to what is close, what is in front of you, and what your hands can reach. Motion becomes clearer than sound. A belt is twitching, a thread is going slack, a shuttle running too roughly. You follow these signs like tracks in mud. Somewhere above the din, you remember what quiet used to feel like. Not a big quiet, not church quiet, but home quiet. The sound of a spoon in a cup, the soft scrape of a chair, a voice that does not need shouting. Those sounds feel like they belong to another world, a world that waits outside these walls. You hold that thought for a second, and then the loom pulls you back. Your breathing stays shallow, and you try to make it calm. In and out, in and out. The steady pattern helps. When the day feels too long, a simple pattern can soothe you, the way counting can soothe you in the dark. We keep our focus small. We take one run of cloth at a time. We take one clean minute, then the next. You begin to wait for the first second of real quiet. The wish grows as the light outside drops, even if you cannot see it. You sense dusk in the way bodies shift, in the way eyes flick to the clock and away again. You wonder what quiet will feel like when it arrives. Will it feel like relief, like cool water on hot skin? Or will it feel like falling, like stepping off a moving cart and having the ground stand still under you? The thought makes your stomach flutter. It makes your shoulders lift, then you push them down again. You keep working, but you watch for the smallest hint of change. Not the big stop, not yet. Just a soft sign that the end is near. You know the room will not go quiet gently. It will drop. The noise will cut out, and the air will swell, and your ears will ring with what is missing. For now, your hearing stays dull and fuzzy. It feels like the mill has taught your ears to close in on themselves. The clatter stays there, still loud, still real, but somehow less clean. The world narrows down to motion and signals. A glance, a point, a nod, a mouth forming words you cannot quite catch, a blink that stands in for a sentence. In this narrowed world, you can still do your work. You can still carry yourself toward the end of the day. As the shift leans toward dusk, you catch a softer change in the work around you. It is not a sound you can name, not clearly. It is a feeling, a slight easing, like the pull in the belts, is not quite as hard. The looms still run, but something in their drive seems less tight. The overlooker's steps do not hurry in the same way. A few faces tip toward the clock, then away again, like looking too long would make the last stretch crawl. You keep your eyes on the moving cloth, and you stay ready, because the ending always comes with one last chance for trouble. The steam engine's long exhale comes through the room before any bell can. The looms still clack and slap, yet the beat feels like it has reached its last part. Like a tune you know so well, you can tell when it is about to stop. The floor still trembles under your boots, but the tremble feels looser. Something in the air lets go of its grip so hard. The overlooker walks the aisle again, and his steps sound different now. Not softer, just slower, with longer spaces between them. He pauses at the corner and looks down the row as if he is counting what remains. A worker near you lifts their chin toward the clock. They look for a breath, then look away, as if looking hurts. You understand that feeling. The clock face feels sharp on your nerves, even when you only glance at it. Hope rises in you, quiet and careful. Your shoulders want to drop. Your jaw wants to loosen, but your muscles hold their shape, trained by the day. You keep your eyes on the cloth and let your hands stay where they know to be. Then it comes, not a shout, not the scrape of doors, You hear a deeper hiss from the engine, lower than the usual breath of steam. It sounds like a long exhale. At the same time, you feel it more than you hear it. The pull in the belt softens, and the power that has held the room all day eases back. Somewhere out of sight, the Watt engine's governor balls begin to slow. You do not see them, but you know the motion. They have been whirling wide and steady, keeping the speed true. Now they sink closer, turning with a calmer, smaller circle, like the mill itself is letting go of its own tight hold. Your loom does not stop at once. It begins to hesitate. The beat stays there, but it wobbles. The frame still moves, yet each strike feels a touch less fierce. Across the shed, another loom stutters first, then slows, as if it is thinking about stopping. A few yards away, one more drops into a slower pace, the sound turning uneven, like boots that no longer march in step. The stopping comes in pieces. One loom slows, then another. Some keep going a moment longer, still stubborn, still loud. Others give up quickly, their last few motions clumsy with fatigue, like a runner taking the final steps after a long road. We listen together as the thick wall of sound starts to thin. It is not quiet yet, but the noise breaks into gaps and the gaps feel wide. In those gaps you hear new things. A belt whispers as it slips towards stillness. A metal part clicks as it settles. Someone lets out a breath you did not know they were holding. Your own breathing sounds strange to you, loud inside your chest. You can almost hear the air moving through your nose. It feels odd, like you have stepped into a place where every small sound counts. As the looms slow, the air seems to grow. It feels wider, less pressed down. The heat still hangs around you, caught by brick and bodies, but the air moves a little more freely now. Without the hard rush of motion, the dust begins to fall. Fine cotton lint drifts down in lazy specks. It floats in the light, then lands on shoulders, on hair, on the tops of machines. The cotton comes down thicker than you expect, as if the room has been holding it up all day. It settles on the cold iron of the frames and the now still rollers, turning dark metal pale. It looks like a winter frost on tool edges and bolts, a soft dusting that makes the machine seem older and quieter. It clings where the oil is too, sticking in dull smears along the places your hands avoid. A worker near you rubs their ear with the back of a hand. Another stretches their fingers open and shut slowly, as if checking that the hands still belong to them. You do the same without thinking. Your fingers feel stiff at the joints. Your palms feel dry under the grime. When you flex, the skin pulls a little, tight with dust and oil. The overlooker stops walking. He stands at the end of the aisle, watching the last few looms. His face looks less hard when the noise thins. Not kind exactly, just tired, like everyone else. He keeps his eyes on the machines until he is sure they are done. Then he turns his head toward the door, as if checking that the evening is still there. You wait for the final moment. Not the slow change, not the stuttering. You wait for the clean break. You wait for the last loom to give up, for the last belt to stop, for the last bit of clack to vanish. The waiting feels thin. Your body holds still, even though your legs ache. Your mind stays fixed on that last sound, like a child staring at the last ember in a hearth. One loom keeps going longer than the rest, somewhere behind you. Its beat sounds lonely now, too loud on its own. Each strike stands out. Each slap feels separate. The room has already started to soften into evening, but this one machine refuses to let go. And then it does. The final motion falls away. The belt slackens. The frame settles. The last clack cuts off so quickly It feels like someone closed a door inside your head. Silence hits in a strange way. It rings. It feels almost loud, like the quiet has its own sound, bright and thin. Your ears buzz with a high note, a soft ringing that comes from inside you, not from the room. For a second, you cannot tell if the looms have truly stopped, because your body keeps hearing what it has heard all day. The beat lingers in your bones. You sway a little, as if the floor still moves. Your knees loosen, then catch. You shift your feet to steady yourself, and the boards feel solid again, yet your legs remember the tremble. Your shoulders drop at last, not in a big release, but in a slow sinking, like heavy cloth sliding off a line. People begin to move, not fast, they move like tired animals after a long pull. Someone coughs, and the sound startles you because it's so clear. A throat clears at the far end of the shed, and you can hear it as if it is near. A quiet word passes from one worker to another. You catch it now, plain and human. You look down at your loom, now still. The cloth sits there, half made, waiting for tomorrow. The machine looks harmless when it rests, like a beast asleep. Lint lies on its shoulders, and along the rails, a soft pale coat that will be shaken loose again in the morning. You take a step away from the frame and feel how stiff your hips are. You roll one shoulder, then the other. The joints complain, then ease. Your hands hang at your sides for a moment, empty. You rub your thumb across your fingertips and feel the grit there, dust and oil worked into a fine paste. We begin to drift toward the doors with the others. Boots scuff on the boards. Aprons brush against legs. A few workers speak in low voices, their words still careful, as if they do not trust the quiet to stay. The overlooker lifts a hand in a small wave that means, "Go on," and the line starts moving. As you walk, the air near the doors feels cooler, not cold, just less thick. You smell the outside before you see it. A hint of damp stone, a hint of smoke from chimneys. The promise of open space, even if it is only a street. You head toward that promise with slow steps, and the gate ahead begins to feel like the first clean breath of the evening. Through the gates into soot-stained dusk, the city meets you in a new skin. The evening air lies cool against your face, damp and a little gritty. It is not clean air. Coal smoke still rides it, and moisture holds the soot close. But after the tight, hot room, it feels lighter to breathe. Your skin cools in small patches first on your cheeks and brow, then along your neck, where sweat has sat all day. You blink, and the street feels wider, as if the walls let go the moment you stepped out. The sky holds the last pale light, thin over the rooftops, caught between day and night. The street spreads out in front of you, and it feels strange to have space on both sides. Inside, you stood close to frames, belts, and elbows. Out here, you can lift your shoulders and not brush a machine. Your boots find the cobbles, and the hard ground feels steady in a new way. Your ears still carry the mill. The quiet does not come all at once. It takes its time, like a sore muscle easing after long work. The clack follows you, ghost-like, not in the street, but inside your head. When you pause for a breath, you still feel the beat under your ribs. Even the silence has a thin ringing, as if the day left a small bell inside your skull. You swallow, and the ringing shifts but does not leave. A horse passes, and its hooves strike the cobbles with a steady tap. Tap, tap, tap. The sound lands clean and simple, and you hold on to it. It is a new kind of rhythm. It comes from a living thing, not a machine. The horse breathes, and you hear a soft snort. Leather creaks, a bit of jingles. These sounds feel gentle, like they belong to the evening. A cart follows loaded with something heavy. The wheels complain as they roll, and the wood gives a tired creak at every turn. A man calls out to the driver, and you catch the shape of the words even if you do not catch each one. A woman answers from a doorway, her voice sharp for a moment, then softer. You hear a child laugh, then get hushed. The city makes small noises, and those noises have room to breathe. We notice the gas lamps coming to life along the street. One flares, then steadies. Another catches a little later. They do not roar. They hiss, low and steady, like kettles that never boil. Each flame draws an amber circle on the stones below, warm at the edges and darker in the middle where feet have worn the ground. Between those circles the street turns deep blue. Indigo shadows gather under carts, and along the base of brick walls, puddles catch the lamp glow and break it into trembling strips of gold. Wet soot sits on the cobbles in soft smears, and your boots carry it in thin tracks. The lamps make long shadows of rails and posts, and the shadows stretch across broken bits of stone as if someone laid down dark paint. You keep walking with the others. Some workers speak now, low and close, as if they do not yet trust their voices. Some say nothing at all. Boots scrape. A cough breaks the air, clear as a bell. Someone spits to clear their throat of dust, then wipes their mouth with a sleeve. You smell damp wool as coats brush past. You smell tea from somewhere nearby, and it turns your stomach warm for a second, because it reminds you of home. Behind you, the mill's brick walls look darker now. They hold the last of the day's heat, as if they keep it locked inside. Out here, the damp cold settles into the seams of your clothes, and it feels honest, even with smoke in it. The windows sit high and dim. The place looks like it has shut its eyes. You think of the looms standing still, waiting. You think of lint lying on silent frames. The mill feels like a beast that has curled up to sleep, but you know it will wake again. For now, you let it stay behind you, one step at a time. Your shoulders still sit high, as if the overlooker might appear at your side. Your hands still feel ready to reach, tie, and stop a frame. But the street asks different things from you. It asks you to watch for wheels. It asks you to step around puddles. It asks you to share the path with bodies moving home. The change is slow. The mill rhythm fades in small bits, like a tune losing notes. You pass shop fronts with shutters half closed. You pass a yard where a man shakes a rug, sending dust into the air, and you flinch at the sight of it, then let out a tired breath. You have had enough dust for one day. You pass a doorway where someone scrubs a step with a brush. The sound of bristles on stone feels calm, like a quiet task that ends when it ends. A group of boys runs by, chasing one another, their boots slapping and sliding. One nearly bumps your arm, then darts away with a quick, "Sorry," that hangs in the damp air. You do not scold him. You feel too tired, and the sound of children feels like proof that the day is over. A mother calls from a window, her voice firm. The boys slow, then scatter toward home as night thickens. You wonder what your own street will sound like, away from the factory roads. The roads near the mill carry a certain kind of noise, carts hauling goods, men with blackened faces, shouts that cut through steam and smoke. You want your street with its closer walls, its familiar doors, its sounds that belong to evening. A latch clicking, a pot was set down, low talk through a thin wall. Small sounds, but they matter. They tell you where you are. As you walk, the gas lamps guide you along. Their amber light touches your hands as you lift them. warming your skin for a moment. Then you step on, and the light falls behind you. The cool parts between the lamps look more blue. The sky above deepens, and the last pale strip near the horizon grows faint. Night comes not as a sudden curtain, but as a slow settling, like dust that finally finds the floor. Your hearing starts to open again. The ringing stays, but it sits farther back. You begin to pick out more of the street. A dog is padding along a wall, the soft splash when someone steps through a shallow puddle, the rustle of paper as a man folds something under his arm, the steady hiss of a lamp as you pass beneath it, close enough to hear the gas feeding the flame. These details arrive one by one, and each one feels like a small return to yourself. The walk becomes a slow reset. You do not force it. You do not tell your shoulders to drop. They do it on their own when they trust the space around you. Your jaw loosens, your hands unclench, your breath deepens, and the cold, damp air feels heavier than the mill's heat, but easier to live with. The machine breaks apart inside you, and the street rhythm takes its place. Tap of hooves, creak of wheel, low voices, the hiss of light. It is not perfectly quiet, but it is human quiet, and it soothes you. We stay close to your tired body as it adjusts. Your feet still ache, but the ache changes when you move at your own pace. Your legs feel less trapped. Your back still holds the shape of the loom, but it begins to soften with each block you pass. The night air cools the sweat on your skin, and the chill makes you pull your coat tighter, grateful for even that small comfort. You reach a turning where the street narrows. Brick walls draw closer, and the lamplight gathers in tighter pools. Windows glow with weak firelight. A thin line of smoke rises from chimney pots and smears into the dark. You hear dishes clinking somewhere. You smell onions or broth, something plain and warm. Evening life begins here, close and tucked in. Ahead, one window stays brighter than the rest, and the light spills out onto the lane in a clean shape on the stones. You slow without thinking, drawn by warmth and the simple promise of food. Small purchases, heavy coins. This is where the evening turns practical, one careful choice at a time. You stop at a corner shop where lamplight holds in a soft square on the lane. The door stands a little open and warm air slides past you as you step closer. You smell bread first. Then you catch the dry, sharp scent of tea leaves, waiting in tins and paper packets. After a day of cotton dust and oil, these smells feel like a change of clothes. You push the door wider and step inside. The floorboards here do not shake. That alone feels strange. Your body expects a tremble, and when it does not come, your knees loosen a little. The shop is small. Shelves crowd the walls. Jars and sacks sit in tidy rows, and a counter stands worn smooth where hands have leaned for years. The air is warmer than the street. It holds yeast, spice, and a thin coal smell from some backroom stove. You pat your pocket for coins. Your fingers find them right away. They sit cold against your palm, heavy for their size. The edges feel worn down by many other hands. You roll one coin with your thumb and feel the tiny marks in it. It grounds you, this little weight, because it tells you the shift is done, and for a few hours, the minutes belong to you again. Still, the count matters. You bring the coins out and lay them in your hand, not on the counter yet. You count once in your head, then again, slower. Wages must stretch, rent waits like a fixed stone in the week. Coal waits too, because the fire does not burn on hope. You think of candles, you think of soap, you think of a boot sole wearing thin. Each coin feels like a choice you must make with care. The shopkeeper looks up from behind the counter. His apron is covered in flour, and his sleeves are pushed up. He gives you a nod, not too friendly, and not cold. Just the kind of nod people give when they have seen you many times, and know the shape of your evenings. He asks what you need, and you answer in a voice that sounds odd to you, as if it has been resting all day. You ask for a loaf. Your words come out plain. The shopkeeper turns and reaches for bread from a basket behind him. The loaf looks simple, brown and firm. You know it will fill you, even if it is not soft. You watch his hands as he wraps it in paper. The paper crackles a small clean sound in the shop. He folds the corners in tight and ties it with a string, quick and sure, like tying off thread. You ask for tea as well, just a small packet. The shopkeeper takes down a tin and lifts the lid. A dry smell rises, warm and bitter at the same time. He measures out leaves with a scoop, and the leaves whisper as they fall. Then he slides them into a paper packet and folds it neatly. He sets it on top of the loaf. It sits there like a promise of warmth later, when your hands are clean and the cup is hot. A woman at the far end of the counter speaks in a low voice about news from somewhere else. Somewhere that is not mills and narrow streets. She says a name as if it has travelled a long way to get here. George Stephenson. The father of railways, someone calls him. Half sure, half guessing. They talk about engines on iron rails, about speed that makes distance feel smaller. The shopkeeper listens without stopping his hands. You listen too, even if you only catch part of it. It feels strange to think of a world moving faster while you spend your days tied to belts and frames. You set your coins on the counter. They click softly on the wood, sharp after the lane's damp hush. The shopkeeper counts them with a quick glance, then pushes a bit of change back to you. You take it and took it away right away. You do not want to drop it. A lost coin can mean less coal or a thinner supper, or a week of weak tea that does not steady you the same. As you stand there, you notice other small things. A jar of sweets near the edge of the counter, bright behind glass. A sack of oats in the corner. A few candles stacked in a box. Soap wrapped in plain paper. Each item feels like it belongs to a part of life you do not touch much during the looms. Here the day slows. The clock still exists, but it does not stare at you from a wall. An older worker waiting with a small bag of flour leans in and says something under his breath to the shopkeeper. Not loud enough to make a scene. You catch only the middle of it, a half-remembered piece of talk that has been passed around for years. Enoch made them, he says, and then softer, and Enoch shall break them. He does not explain. He does not need to. The words hang there like a warning from another time, from men who took a heavy hammer, Enoch they called it, and smashed the frames when work turned cruel and wages turned thin. The shopkeeper's eyes flick up and away, quick as a blink. No one laughs, no one repeats it. You stand very still for a moment, loaf tucked close, tea packet resting on top. You feel the weight of the saying, even if you have never seen a frame smashed yourself. It comes to you as a whisper carried from an older shift, the kind of story that survives because it fits the shape of people's anger. Then it slips back under the day's tiredness, because tonight you still have to eat and sleep and get up again. You step back toward the door, with your loaf under your arm. The paper feels warm against your sleeve. The packet of tea rustles when you move. It is a small sound and you like it. It is your sound, not the mill's sound. As you open the door, cooler air meets you again, and the lane feels darker than before, as if the lamps have turned up while you stood inside. Outside, you pass a working men's club. The door is shut, but sound seeps through the wood and brick. You do not catch clear words. You catch a low human hum that rises and dips. Now and then a louder burst slips out. A laugh, a rough shout, then the door holds it back again. The noise does not press on you the way the looms did. It sits in the night, like a fire behind a wall. You walk on without stopping. Your body wants rest more than company tonight. Still, we listen for a breath. We hear the scrape of a chair inside. We hear the clink of a glass. We hear a voice that sounds tired but steady. The club feels like a place where men gather what is left of themselves after long shifts, the way you gathered your coins and counted them twice. Farther down the lane, a child lingers near a doorway. The child's boots tap on the step. A voice calls out from inside, firm and familiar. In, now. The child hesitates for a second, then runs in. The door shuts. A latch clicks into place. That small click feels like a signal. Evening closes gently, house by house. You keep walking with the bread tucked close. Your arm feels the weight of it, and it is a good weight. It tells you that you will eat. It tells you that you planned ahead, even when the day drained you. The tea packet bumps lightly against the loaf each time you take a step, like a reminder to slow down when you finally reach your own door. Worry still follows you though. It sits in the coins you did not spend. It sits in the thought of rent day. It sits in the memory of the mill, still faint in your ears, and in the oil smell that clings to your cuffs, even out here in the damp. But the shop's warmth, the bread, the small talk of railways and old hammers, all of it reminds you that the world keeps shifting around these gates, whether the mill owners like it or not. The lane narrows again as you near your building. The gas lamps hiss behind you, and the light grows more blue between the pools of gold. Windows glow with thin firelight. A cat slips along a wall, silent and quick. Somewhere, a kettle murmurs. Not yet boiling, just waking. You adjust the loaf higher under your arm and reach the first step. Your free hand finds the rail by habit, and the wood feels slick from many palms. The day's grit still sits on your skin, and you feel it when your fingers close. You take a breath, then start up. Tin basin, cool water, waits for you at the top, the first real sign that the day can be taken off. You climb the stairs with your boots still heavy, and the wood complains under each step. The hallway holds a damp chill, the smell of old brick and coal smoke caught in plaster. This is a back-to-back house, rooms pressed against rooms, with no through draft to clear the air. Sound travels easily here. A door shuts somewhere below. A child coughs, then quiets. Up close, the building creaks and settles, as if making itself comfortable for the night. At the landing, you pause long enough to breathe. The air tastes cleaner than the shed air, even if it still carries the street in it. You hear someone shift behind a thin wall. A low murmur, a short laugh, then quiet again. The whole place holds many lives close together, and at night, those lives try to soften. You reach your door and push it open. The room greets you with cooler air. It does not feel cold, just calm. Your skin notices right away. The sweat on your neck stops prickling. Your shoulders ease because there is no belt overhead, no overlooker's boots in the aisle. The room is small. The walls feel near. In the corner, a patch of damp has darkened the plaster, and the window sits high enough that you mostly see night and a strip of roofline. You set your loaf down on a table or shelf, careful not to crush it. The paper makes a dry, friendly sound as it touches wood. The tea packet rests on top, light as a folded note. Your body knows the order of the evening. First, the work ends. Then you wash it off properly, as if you can unhook yourself from the mill by rinsing away what it left behind. You find the tin basin, where it always sits, dull and dented. You place it on the chair or the table, and it clinks softly. That thin metal sound pulls your mind toward the shed for a moment, and your jaw tightens. Then you let the breath out slowly. This is home sound. It does not demand anything from you. You fetch water. The jug looks plain, but it feels heavy in tired hands. Your fingers move more slowly than they did this morning. Your wrists ache in a quiet way. You pour, and the water slaps against the tin. It does not steam. It lies there still, and you can tell it is cold without even touching it. You stand over it and hesitate. Cold water on sore hands can sting. Your knuckles feel swollen from gripping, tying, stopping and starting. The skin around your nails feels tight. All day, you kept those hands just clean enough for the overlooker's eye, aware that a smear of oil or a look of grime could cost you a fine. Here, no one is watching. No one will dock your copper coins because lint sits in a crease. We feel the small relief of that. Washing becomes yours again. Not something done to avoid punishment, but something done to claim your own skin back. For a moment, you keep your hands above the water and let the room hold you. You listen. A distant footstep in the hall. A cartwheel outside, faint and slow. The soft hiss of a gas lamp down the street. The night feels steadier than the day did. You tell yourself you can meet the cold. The sting will pass. You dip your fingers in anyway. The shock wakes you at once. It bites at the skin. Your fingers pull back without meaning to, then go in again, deeper this time. The cold grabs the ache and makes it sharp for a breath. Then the sharpness starts to dull. The water turns from sting to relief, like the moment after a tight boot comes off. You rub your fingertips together under the surface. You feel grit lift away. You slide your thumb over your palm and feel the day's roughness soften. You bring both hands into the basin and cup water up to your wrists. The cold creeps higher and your skin tingles. You keep going because the clean is worth it. Cotton dust lifts off your hands in pale swirls. It looks almost like milk in the water, thin and drifting. The water turns cloudy. You watch it change, and it feels good to see the day leave you in a simple, clear way. You scrub the backs of your hands and the webbing between your fingers. You press your thumb into your palm, where the skin feels thick. You rub at your knuckles, where lint has packed into small lines. The oil smell clings longer. It sits in the creases, stubborn. You work at it with patient rubbing, nail against skin, palm against palm. The water chills your hands, but it also takes the heat out of them. It calms the throbbing. It makes your fingers feel more like your own again. We notice how this washing draws a line without needing words. On one side sits the shed, the belts, the clock, the overlooker's paws behind your shoulder, the fines that could come from something as small as dirty hands. On the other side sits this cramped room, with its damp wall and its quiet corners. The basin becomes a small border you can cross. When you lift your hands out, you leave work behind in the tin. You rinse once more, slower now. You let the water run over your fingers and drip from your nails. Droplets fall back into the basin with soft taps. Each tap feels like a slower beat than the looms. You shake your hands gently, and the water flicks off in tiny sparks that vanish before they reach the floor. You reach for the towel. It hangs nearby, rough and worn thin in places. You rub your hands dry, and the cloth scrapes your skin in a way that feels honest. It pulls at the last bits of lint. It warms your fingers through friction. You press the towel into your palms and hold it there for a moment, letting your hands rest. When you lower it, you look at your knuckles. They look tired. The skin shows small marks and tiny cracks where the thread has rubbed. Your nails look cleaner. Your hands still carry the memory of the day, but they do not carry the dirt of it. And that matters. With clean hands, you can finally touch food without feeling the mill on your skin. You can break bread without tasting lint. You can lift a cup and smell tea instead of oil. The room feels safer when your hands feel clean, even if the damp still sits in the plaster and the air never quite dries. You pour the dirty water out, careful not to splash. The cloudy swirl disappears down into a pail or out to where waste goes, and the sight gives you a small calm. The day's grime has somewhere to go. It does not have to follow you into bed. You set the basin aside, and the tin gives one soft knock as it meets wood. Now the room waits for the next gentle step. You reach for a candle and a match. Your fingers still feel cool from the water, but they move with more ease. You strike the match, and it flares, quick and bright. The flame catches the wick, and a small steady light settles into the space. Supper by candle and quiet begins the moment you sit down, the room finally holding still around you. You sit close to the table as a single candle watches over the space between you and the dark. The flame is small, but it changes the whole room. It turns the walls a little warmer than they are. It softens the hard corners. Shadows gather in the far edges, quiet and still, like resting cats that do not need to move. Your hands, newly washed, feel cool and clean as you unwrap the loaf. The paper makes a soft crackle, then goes still. You break off a piece of bread and feel the firm crust give way. The inside is plain and dense. It smells honest. If you have a bit of dripping, you spread it thin, careful not to use too much. You know the rent is why the tea packet was small, why you did not buy anything sweet, why you kept your coins tucked close and counted twice. You take a bite and chew slowly, letting your jaw work at its own pace. You pour tea into a cup, and the smell rises right away. It is sharp, but it feels steady. You hold the cup with both hands and let the warmth soak into your fingers. The first sip tastes strong and dark. It washes some of the day from your mouth. The cotton taste fades. The oil smell stuck in your clothes still hangs around you, but the tea pushes back in a small way. You eat in quiet, listening to the tiny sounds you make. The bread tears. The cup touches the table with a dull tap. You swallow, and the room stays calm. Your stomach takes the food in, as if it has been waiting for it. After all the hours standing, after all the work that did not care if you felt hungry, this simple meal meets simple needs. A warm drink, plain bread, and a few minutes where no one measures your pace. We stay with the slow comfort of it. Not a feast, not a treat, just enough to settle you. You feel your shoulders loosen as warmth spreads through you. The muscles in your back still hold the shape of the loom, but the tightness eases by a small degree. Your legs still ache, yet the ache feels farther away, less sharp, because you're finally sitting. When the last bite is gone, the hard part arrives. You reach into your pocket again, the way you did at the shop, but now the coins mean more. These are not coins for one loaf. These are coins for the week. You set them on the table one by one, and their sound cuts through the quiet. Click, click, click. Each tap feels sharp, like the day trying to return through a tiny crack. You sort them without rushing. Copper first, Then any silver you have managed to keep. The shillings feel heavier than they should, because they stand for so much. You know how quickly money can disappear when the cost of living sits high and close. You think of the things people say about machines that cost more than a worker will see in a long time. Numbers too big to hold in your head. Here on the table, your own money is small and countable, and that is part of what makes it frightening. The candle flame wavers when you move your hand. For a moment the light shakes on the wall, then steadies again. You look down at the money and feel that thin space between what you have and what you owe. Rent sits in your mind like a fixed weight. In a back-to-back room like this, with damp in the plaster and thin walls, you still pay for the right to sleep without being turned out. Coal sits there too. If you pay for heat, you pay less for food. If you pay for food, the room grows cold. The choices are not new, but they never grow easy. You count slowly. You line the coins in small groups, then count again, just to be sure. Your tired mind can slip, and you cannot afford a slip. Your fingers still feel stiff even after the wash. They move with care. You pause once halfway through, because the numbers start to blur for a breath. You blink, then begin again, whispering the sums under your breath as a quiet only you can hear. We let the worry sit for a moment, without wrestling with it. It can sit on the table with the coins. It does not have to sit on your chest. You watch it the way you watch dust settle. You do not chase it. You do not feed it. You simply notice it, then let it drift to the side. Your eyes lift to the candle, and the flame reminds you how time feels in this room. In the mill, time marched. It snapped at you. It pulled you forward whether you felt ready or not. The clock face hung up high, and its hands moved with a strict kind of power. You remember how often you checked it without wanting to, as if the clock could scold you with its silence. Here, time moves more slowly. It does not feel owned by anyone. It rides on the candle flame. It rests in the way the tea cools in your cup. It lives in the soft hush between sounds. You look at the small pool of wax forming at the base of the wick and feel the minutes pass in a gentler way. A noise comes from the building, faint but clear. Someone coughs down the hall, then stops. A floorboard shifts in the room above you, the wood settling under a step. A door closes somewhere, and the latch clicks. These are close sounds. They do not press on you. They remind you that other people are ending their day too. Other bodies are also easing into the night, counting their own shillings and pennies in their own tight rooms. You gather the coins again and tuck them into a small tin or a cloth, or back into your pocket, if that is what you have. You set them where you can find them in the morning. You do it with care because money is not just money. It is hot. It is bread. It is a little calm. When you finish, your hands rest on the table for a moment, empty and still. Your mind drifts back to the mill one more time, as if it needs to check that the place is truly behind you. You think of the engine's long exhale. You think of the silence that rang. You think of the floor that kept shaking, even when you walked away. That rhythm still lives in your muscles. It sits in your calves, in the bend of your knees, in your shoulders, where you held yourself tight. The day's beat has not left yet. It has only moved deeper. You take one more sip of tea, cooler now, and feel it slide warm and calm through your chest. The room stays simple. The candle throws a soft circle on the tabletop and leaves the corners dim. Your coat hangs nearby, still smelling faintly of smoke and oil. Your boots sit where you left them, heavy and tired. Everything looks plain in the low light, and that plainness feels safe. You breathe slowly. in and out, in and out. Each breath feels deeper than it did at the mill. The air does not taste like lint. It tastes like candle wax, old wood, and a trace of tea. The sounds outside your window thin. A cart rolls past once, then disappears. A voice carries for a moment, then drops away. The gas lamps keep their steady hiss somewhere down the street, like a quiet reminder that the city stays awake even when you cannot. You glance at the candle again and notice it has burned lower. The wax has pulled more. The flame leans to one side when a draft slips under the door, then straightens. The light grows softer, and the room begins to look more blue than gold. Night is taking over, not fast but steady, the way it always does. You feel the pull of sleep in your bones. Not a sudden pull, a slow invitation. Your eyelids feel heavier. Your stomach feels calm from the bread and tea. The counting ends, at least for tonight. You have done what you can do. You have lined up tomorrow's needs as best you can, and you do not have to hold them in your head every second. For tonight, you give tomorrow's problems a corner of the room, not the whole bed. You let them sit there with the coins, quiet and contained. You shift your chair back with a small scrape, careful not to wake the building. The candle keeps shrinking, and the shadows spread wider. You stand, and your legs remind you what the day cost, a deep ache that makes you pause before you take the next step. The loom, echo in your muscles, follows you to bed like a last shift you can't clock out of. You lie down on the thin mattress and feel it give under you with a tired little sigh. Rough linen scratches your skin in a plain, familiar way. Not painful, just honest. It brushes your forearms when you settle your arms at your sides. Your pillow feels lumpy, but it still supports your head. You pull the cover up, and it smells faintly of soap, old cloth, and the day's smoke that never fully leaves. The room cools as the last warmth slips away. If there was a small fire earlier, it has fallen quiet, leaving only a weak heat that cannot reach your toes. If there was no fire, the walls simply let the cold back in, slow and sure. You feel it first along the side of your face near the window, then along your hands as they rest on the sheet. The candle has burned low, and the light has changed. The gold turns thin. Long shadows stretch across the floorboards and climb the wall, and the corners sink into a deep quiet that feels almost solid. You shift once to find a better spot for your shoulder. The mattress is thin, and you can feel the boards under it. The hardness does not shock you. It feels normal. Your bones know this kind of bed. You let your body lie heavy, and that heaviness feels like permission, like an earned sanctuary after hours of standing and reaching and holding yourself tight. When you close your eyes, the mill comes back. Not as clear pictures, not as faces or the shape of the shed. It returns as a fading vibration in your muscles. Your legs still expect the floors tremble, as if the boards under this mattress might start to hum. Your knees twitch once, then settle. Your feet still feel braced for a shift in weight. Even your hands, clean now, seem ready to pinch a thread and tie it fast. You tell your body softly that nothing moves here. The loom cannot reach you. The overlooker cannot step into this room. Still, your muscles hold the memory. It sits deep, the way a tune stays in your head after a long day of hearing it. You notice your jaw has set again. You let it loosen. You notice your shoulders sit high. You let them drop. The silence in the room has its own sound. A thin ringing sits in your ears like the day left a note behind. It is not loud, but it is there. When you swallow, it changes for a moment, then returns. When you shift your head on the pillow, It slides to the other ear, then centres again. It reminds you how full the shed was, and how sudden the stop felt when the engine eased. We stay with this after feeling, because it does not belong only to you. Many workers carry it. Night after night, the body tries to keep time the way it did in the mill. Even when the world turns quiet, the inside of you keeps a faint beat, as if a part of you still stands by the frame. It can feel lonely, that private echo, but it can also feel like proof that you made it through another day and earned this stillness. Outside, the street noise thins. Earlier, you could hear voices, steps, and a door closing hard. Now those sounds move farther away, as if the city is walking off in soft shoes. The gas lamps hiss outside, low and steady, and the hiss settles into the background like a calm seam holding the night together. A distant cart passes on the cobbles and fades. The wheels complain for a moment, then the sound smooths out, and then disappears around a corner. You hear the quiet after it, and the quiet feels wide. A neighbour coughs somewhere in the building. The cough stops, and the hush returns at once. A floorboard creaks above you, then stills. You can tell someone has turned over in their own bed, searching for comfort the way you did a moment ago. The house feels full of tired bodies, each one trying to claim a small patch of rest. Your mind drifts to the talk you heard earlier, in the shop or on the lane. George Stephenson, someone said, as if the name itself carried speed. Railways, engines on iron tracks, schedules that make men check the time as the clock checks them in the shed. You don't hold the details in a neat line. You just feel the idea of it, the world tightening in another way, with distance pulled in and days set to new rules. You let that thought pass. It does not belong in this room, not tonight. If the future keeps tapping at the door, it can wait outside with the damp and the soot. Another thought slips in anyway, quieter and older, the whisper you heard in the shop. Enoch made them, and Enoch shall break them. The words come without pictures, only a feeling of men moving in the dark, of fear and anger kept under coats. You don't reach for the story. You let it drift by like smoke. You have bread in you now. You have a cup of tea. You have a bed, thin as it is. Tonight, that is enough. You bring your mind back to what is close at hand. The scratch of linen, the cool air on your cheek, the long shadow of the chair against the wall, stretched by the candle's last flame. The candle wavers once and the shadow sways, then holds still again. The ringing in your ears begins to soften. It does not leave at once, it thins little by little. The loom's rhythm inside you also starts to break apart. At first it feels steady, like steps that will not stop. Then a pause appears where there was no pause. The beat stutters, then fades, then returns faintly, then fades again. That fading vibration that lived in your calves and wrists finally sinks down, through bone and muscle, and settles into the mattress as if the bed takes it from you. You notice your legs stop bracing. The floor inside your memory stops trembling. Your feet rest more heavily on the sheet. Your calves unclench. Your hands stop hovering, and your fingers curl in a natural way. Your body begins to believe the night. It begins to accept that nothing demands your speed right now, and that the stillness has been earned, not given. Outside, the city holds its indigo quiet. The last loud voice drops away. The last cart sound does not return. The gas lamps keep their low hiss, but even that seems softer now, as if the night wraps it in cloth. The window shows only a dim strip of blue glow, far away. The street below feels like a place you do not need to step into again until morning. You let your eyes stay closed. You stop searching for tomorrow's numbers. You stop listening for the overlooker's step. You stop counting minutes. The only counting left comes from your breath. In and out. In and out. Each breath feels slower than the last. The day pressed on you with noise, heat, dust, and watchful eyes. Now the night answers with deep quiet and long shadows. The thin bed does not fix anything, but it holds you anyway. Safe enough. Quiet enough. You feel the mill still in you, not as clatter, but as a lesson your body has learned about steady effort and the way it can end. Your breathing takes over, calm and even. The last vibration fades. The mattress feels still beneath you, and for a moment, with the candle almost gone and the room at rest, the mill stays behind you at last. You bring your mind back to what is close at hand. The scratch of linen, the cool air on your cheek, the long shadow of the chair against the wall, stretched by the candle's last flame. The candle wavers once and the shadow sways, then holds still again. The ringing in your ears begins to soften. It does not leave at once, it thins little by little. The loom's rhythm inside you also starts to break apart. At first it feels steady, like steps that will not stop. Then a pause appears where there was no pause. The beat stutters, then fades, then returns faintly, then fades again. That fading vibration that lived in your calves and wrists finally sinks down, through bone and muscle, and settles into the mattress as if the bed takes it from you. You notice your legs stop bracing. The floor inside your memory stops trembling. Your feet rest more heavily on the sheet. Your calves unclench. Your hands stop hovering, and your fingers curl in a natural way. Your body begins to believe the night. It begins to accept that nothing demands your speed right now, and that the stillness has been earned, not given. Outside, the city holds its indigo quiet. The last loud voice drops away. The last cart sound does not return. The gas lamps keep their low hiss, but even that seems softer now, as if the night wraps it in cloth. The window shows only a dim strip of blue glow, far away. The street below feels like a place you do not need to step into again until morning. You let your eyes stay closed. You stop searching for tomorrow's numbers. You stop listening for the overlooker's step. You stop counting minutes. The only counting left comes from your breath. In and out. In and out. Each breath feels slower than the last. The day pressed on you with noise, heat, dust, and watchful eyes. Now the night answers with deep quiet and long shadows. The thin bed does not fix anything, but it holds you anyway. Safe enough. Quiet enough. You feel the mill still in you, not as clatter, but as a lesson your body has learned about steady effort and the way it can end. Your breathing takes over, calm and even. The last vibration fades. The mattress feels still beneath you, and for a moment, with the candle almost gone and the room at rest, the mill stays behind you at last. And now we come to the conclusion, where the day can stop asking anything of you. The mill does not follow as sound now, but as a lesson your body has learned. You can work steadily, you can carry the hours, and when the work ends, real quiet can come. If any part of your own day still clings to you, we can set it down here. Let it rest on the table like coins after counting. Let it sink away like dust in wash water. You do not have to hold it through the night. Thank you for drifting through the night with me. If you found comfort here, tap subscribe and like the video. It helps others find a warm place to rest too. And, if you'd like, share softly in the comments where you find peace when the nights grow long.